Before we go over this replay I had against DJ, who is famous for getting second place in the Roar Kalos Championship Series, highlighting Snake Eyes, I wanted to give a shout out to ZenmaiShark, whose video I saw where they absolutely destroyed a Superheavy Samurai end board, going second with Tistina. I was just so inspired that I wanted to try out their deck card for card, which led to this amazing game. I will have both of their links in the description below, so feel free to check them out. So let's start by comparing our opening hands. They have full combo with Snake Eye Ash. They have 2 Maxx Cs for our turn. Crossout Designator is pretty much a dead card since we don't really have anything for them to negate. And Sinful Spoil's Betrayal is a brick for them since they don't have access to Duel Star. For us, we open with 2 adventure cards that we don't really want to see. We would much prefer for these cards to be like, Water Enchantress, or even just right up our Macer. We have 3 other cards that can search other cards, but if they end up having Droll for some reason, we're pretty much fish out of the water. Let's get into it. So here they normal summon Snake Eye Ash. This adds Poplar to their hand. Poplar then summons itself. Poplar effect to add a Divine Temple. Divine Temple activates and then sets Flambridge. They link into Link Karibo. Poplar sets itself to the Spell Trap Zone. Snake Eye Ash sends itself and Link Karibo for Oak. Oak then summons Ash back to the field. And Link Karibo summons itself by tributing Ash. Oak sends itself and Flambridge to summon another Flambridge to the field. This lets them summon Ash and Oak. They link 2 into IP Masquerena. Link IP and Link Karibo for Promethean Princess. Princess then summons back Flambridge. And Flambridge sets IP Masquerena to their Spell Trap Zone. They link into Ambler Whale. And they set 2 cards. So they end on a Princess activation in the grave. Flambridge will summon back IP Masquerena on the draw phase, which then they can link into, and then they will have access to additional Snake Eyes monsters back to the field from when Flambridge goes to their grave. And of course they have the Maxx C, which is pretty much very bad for us. So now they Maxx C on our draw. We open with using Tuning to search out Revolution Synchron, milling the top card of our deck, which is Tuning. We use Fallen of Tistina to search out a copy of our field spell. Then they chain IP Masquerena to link into Unicorn. Spinning back our copy of our field spell. Now Flambridge gets to activate, summon 2 Snake Eyes monsters from their grave to the field. So now Ash triggers adding Poplar, and then Poplar activates summoning itself, adding a copy of Sinful Spoil Snake Eyes to their hand. Now we activate Fateful Adventure. We search for Water Enchantress, sending itself to the grave. Now we banish Water Enchantress to add Right to our hand. Activate Right. This summons an adventure token to our field. They draw Imperm, and then they pop our token. So now here they're just summoning more monsters from the grave to the field. And then Poplars puts Flambridge to their Spell Trap Zone. So Breath of Tistina gives us access to a free normal summon of another Tistina monster, so we just summon Sentinel of the Tistina. From here, we use Breath of Tistina's effect to set it face down to add a Tistina monster from our deck to our hand. So here we add Demigod of the Tistina. So now the Demigod summons itself, which adds another copy of the field spell. We activate the field spell, send Hound to the grave, summoning Crystal God Tistina. We are allowed to do this because they have more than 3 face-up cards on the field. And now, during our main phase, we can use Crystal God Tistina to change as many of our opponent's monsters to face-down defense position. Then, if there's any other cards that are face-up on the field, we can just simply send them all to the grave. Isn't that great? So with all of that gone, we just summon Hound of the Tistina from the grave. Now we overlay 2 into our rank 10, which is Tistina, the divinity that defies darkness. We use its effect to send all of their face down cards into the grave. So now we've cleared the board, and if we weren't under Maxx C, we would have just simply won the game from here since they would have 1 or 2 dead cards in hand. So now we use its effect to detach Demigod to give itself an additional 2000 attack, but then they just imperm it. So we move to battle, deal some damage, and we hope to survive. They drew Gamma for a turn. They open with normal summoning Snake Eye Ash one more time, adding Jet Synchron. They use original Sinful Spoils to summon Oak, and Oak summons Poplar from the grave. Poplar adds Subversion to their hand, and they summon back Link Karibo. Flambirch is set to their Spell Trap Zone, and they summon another copy of Ash while Flambirch summons 2 more monsters from their grave. They link 2 into Sunlight Wolf, and then link everything away for Access Code Talker. So Access Code Talker here banishes the IP Masquerena and pops our field spell. If this card on the field zone is destroyed by our opponent's card effect, we can then special summon 1 Tistina monster from the deck or the grave. Here I should have detached Crystal God Tistina from our Xyz monster, but since we didn't do that, we currently don't have access to it. We will just summon another copy of Demigod. So while this is in the graveyard, when our opponent destroys one of our Tistina spell or trap cards, we can then banish this from the grave to special summon 1 light Tistina monster from our hand, deck, or grave. So now we get to summon 2 monsters because they popped our field spell. But unfortunately for us, they have the 3rd Maxx C in hand, which gets to resolve, making this the 2nd one. So they drew Seeker, finally finding their Diabell Star. Access Code pops another card, and they go for a Demigod. They send Driver to the grave to summon Diabell Star to the field. They set another Sinful Spoils to the field. They banish Wanted from the grave so they can add back their Betrayal to their deck and draw 1 card. Now they use Subversion on our Xyz monster. They move to battle, and just attack over 2 of our monsters. They set Called By and pass. And now it's turn 4, and we drew Griffin, which is a dead card. So here, we are activating Sentinel of the Tistina's effect, so we can target 1 Tistina monster or 1 face down card we control, destroy it, and then add a Tistina card from our deck to our hand. That's why we set Draco back, so we can pop it and then search for a card. But again, earlier last turn they drew Effect Veiler, so that's negated. Now we use Fateful's effect to search out Magicore by sending Griffin to the grave. Now they use Droll and Lockbird, making this the 3rd impactful hand trap that they used against us, because we could have still searched out cards with Breath of the Tistina, among other things. So here we just normal summon Magicore, use Revolution Synchron Synchro effect from hand to summon Ancient Fairy Dragon. From here we were just trying to summon more monsters, and now Revolution Synchron tries to summon itself back from the grave, becoming level 1, but they just banish it with Called By. And here, for the turning point of this duel, we link 2 into Verte Anaconda. And now we have 3 dark monsters on the board. Verte effect sending Super Poly, and we've used everything away for our Predaplant Triffer Overtum. Diabell Star gets to summon itself back to the field, and this time it sets Trap card, but it doesn't matter since we'll just hit over it. Now we are 1 step closer to winning the game. They drew another Called By for a turn. Banished Sinful Spoils, shuffling Poplar and adding Kurikara to their hand. Normal Jet, Tribute Jet for Link Kuriboh, Jet Synchron effect sending Gamma to the grave to summon it back, and then they link into Hida. We could have used our Predaplant effect to negate this inherent summon of Hida from the extra deck, but we didn't do this because we already know that they added Kurikara to their hand earlier this turn, so it would be pointless for us to lose our boss monster when they don't really have anything to do with this Link 2 monster. We already know that they've gone through most of their Link monsters like Access Code, IP Masquerena, Amblo Whale, and Nightmare Unicorn, but now we have to keep in mind that whenever we special summon a monster from our hand or deck, they will then be able to summon Promethean Princess because now they have a fire monster on the field. Earlier in our turn when we used Verte, they couldn't use Princess because they had no access to fire monsters. Ita then summons back our Magikarp, they set the Caldby and pass their turn. And here it is, the second Super Poly. So we use Breath of the Tistina to set our Predaplant monster, searching out Demigod of the Tistina. Here it didn't really matter which one we searched because we will just be sending that away to the grave to activate Super Polymerization. So now we flip our Predaplant, move to battle, use Super Poly, discard a card from our hand, fuse 2 away, and summon Mud Dragon. And now we just simply attack for game. Now wasn't that just the best duel ever? So here is ZenmaiShark's Tistina deck. We have 2 Fallen of Tistinas, 3 Maxx Cs, 1 Returned, 3 Terratops, 1 Takutomborg, an Ash Blossom, 1 Water Enchantress, 3 Revolution Synchron, 3 Sentinels, 1 Magikarp, 1 Hound, 1 Tainted, 1 Griffin Rider, 3 Demigod of the Tistina, 1 Crystal God Tistina, 1 Foolish Burial, 3 Tuning, 3 Rite of Aramacer, 1 Dracoback, 1 Black Garden, 1 Divine Domain Batistina, 1 Fateful Adventure, 3 Breath of the Tistina, 3 Super Polymerization, 2 Caldby, 1 Play of the Tistina, and 1 Embrace of the Tistina. For our extra deck, we have 1 Mud Dragon, 1 Garura, 1 Predaplanter for Overtum, 1 Garden Rose Maiden, 1 Ancient Fairy Dragon, 1 Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon for burn damage, 1 Tistina, the divinity that defies darkness, 1 Hayate that we can summon by linking away Azalea, 1 Artemis, 1 Cherubini that we can just simply make by linking 2 level 3 monsters to send Water Enchantress to the grave, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Predaplant Verte Anaconda, 1 Sprite Elf, and finally we have 1 Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. So let me know what you think of this deck. I hope you just never take at face value when someone says a deck is bad or unplayable, because it just really depends on the build and the person who's piloting it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.